Conor McGregor's back in the news with some leaked images that he's been sending to some celebrity that I'd never heard of. What do you make of the latest McGregor scandal? It feels like the nickname Notorious is starting to turn the other way and maybe go from a positive into a negative.
I mean, it's been a negative for me for quite some time. I mean, even if you wanted to hold out judgment, everything that happened after that court case to me was enough to
Well,
make a
that's very
judgment.
true.
He's a terrible person. He's a terrible person. And listen, the reality is in combat sports, there's a lot of terrible people of varying degrees. And people always like, what about Iron Mike? Iron Mike did, Tyson did a lot of bad stuff. And it's true, but it's like Mike went to jail. Like Mike had to serve a sentence that the government imposed on him, and he had to go do that thing. And then he had to, um, he converted to Islam. And I know he had some wild times after that, but in general has been I don't think he was the same person after jail. I think I'd be very clear about that. Like there was some level of having to answer to the public for his literal crimes. McGregor just seems to skate. His significant other doesn't seem to do anything about it. UFC doesn't seem to do anything about it. Law enforcement does something about it, but very little, relatively speaking. He's a bad guy, and I know some folks don't care about that kind of thing. I understand. Some folks are, they look the other way. If he never fought again, I'd be totally fine.
Is there a point where the sport of MMA or the fans of MMA wash their hands with Conor McGregor, or can he do kind of no, can he do, you know, anything he wants essentially, and up until that return date is announced, people will, give him a free pass and look forward to the next fight.
I mean, I would say that unless he does some kind of heinous crime, the answer there's probably not much he can do almost whatever. What I would say though is it's less about the fans like all of a sudden turning on him, and it's more about the thing that's already been in motion for quite some time, which is the slow kind of letting go of him, the
Mm.
slow irrelevance of him, at least as a fighter, right? I mean, I guess he's got some BKFC stuff going on, and that's not nothing. There is actually a little something to that, but in terms of just like a thing that you can be like, oh, when's he gonna be back, and what could be next for him? Already, fans have just kind of like I mean, you could used to be able to make videos endlessly like who should McGregor fight next. These aren't even relevant questions anymore, and I think there's still a little bit of hope holding out. Obviously, with what could happen next July 4th here in the United States, but in general, like the people are just slowly letting him go. I think you might get more of that as time proceeds.
Last question on this. What would you imagine a Conor McGregor fight week to look like now? Like when we think about the Khabib Conor fight week, it was so well, the fight build up, never mind the fight week. It was so dark. It went to a place that the sport maybe hadn't seen before, and it was so serious and so again dark is the word that's come to mind. What would you anticipate a McGregor fight week to look like now? Again, it's the question is opponent dependent, but what would you imagine it to look like?
Like what you saw against Eddie Alvarez or even some other folks he had antagonism towards, but just a shittier version of it. You know what I mean? Just a much less, the jokes are less interesting. The humor's a little darker. Stuff doesn't hit quite as well. There's accusations, like kind of what you see from what he does at BKFC to a degree, although he's not really the target there in that sense. But just 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 the gutter that he brings with him. To be honest with you, so there is a market for that. We should be honest about that. There is a market for that. That's not in terms of the fight sport world. That's not. There are worse things actually, but the high highs or these like the soaring rhetoric that used to surround him when he was doing interesting stuff. That's all dead. That's going to stay dead. I think what you're going to get is just what you get now, which is you know malfeasance and all the things downstream from it.